Hey guys, welcome to Jerry's Live. As always, I'm your host, Amy Gardner-Dean. Today, our episode is JL155, and we are talking about Painting Panels 101. Overwhelming panel options. What do you really need? Anytime you're looking at substrates for painting and trying to decide what to buy, to do work on, whether it's maybe for a class that you're going to, a workshop, whether you just want something basic to practice on, whether you have a big commission and it needs to be something really nice. It's frustrating and just a little problematic if you don't know some of the buzzwords and the lingo and kind of all the things that are the descriptors that if you don't kind of have a little bit of a background on where somebody's giving you a little bit of information, it makes it really hard to kind of wade through it. And I will tell you, and I know I've said this multiple times before in some of these different episodes like this, sometimes what they don't tell you can be as telling as what they do tell you with any manufacturer's just information on the website. So it's good to know some of the basics, kind of what makes a good panel or what makes a good canvas, to then kind of know, okay, they've said this or they've not said that, so what do I need to know? What do I need to look at? Are we okay, guys? Okay, all right. I wasn't sure if there was a technical problem, and I maybe was just talking to myself. So, all right, we're good. Okay, so we're going to go through that. So if you're interested in any of the panels that we're going to be showing here, the keyword for the jerrysartorama.com website to find the information or to just pull up the whole list of panels that we've got is going to be JL155. So all you'll do is in the search box on our website, you'll type in JL155. It will pull up the entire list of panels. And this is an episode that can be rewatched at a later date. So if you don't have a notebook handy and there's something that you're not sure, there were a couple different things you were looking at, and then you see the list, and then you're kind of drawing a blank again, you'll be able to rewatch this to learn more about it. So we did do a show once very early on, years and years, eons ago, it seems like now, JL7. We did an Anatomy of Painting Panels episode where I believe we actually cut a panel apart to prove a point. So so that also is one that you can watch. I think we went over multiple manufacturers' products at that time. Today we're just doing general education. So because we've had a lot of new people, they don't realize there is an episode 7 to be able to watch. And that episode was before we had 4K. We were just filming with an iPhone then. So, so this will be kind of just more the basics if you want to go back and look at some additional brands on our kind of the information when you are seeing this video on YouTube or Facebook. It gives a description and then it says see more. You click that. There's links that will take you to all of the shows by the different kind of either chronologically or by just the descriptions by like, is it acrylics? Is it oils? By the different kind of stuff. So, so those are good resources to have because then you can find stuff like this again if you miss something or have to come back to it. Okay? All right, so let's get started with this real quick. What are some of the perks of panel? I used to get this all the time when I worked in customer service. What are some of the perks of why would you buy a panel when you can buy stretched canvas, right? Artists with limited storage space, either in their studio or that don't have a studio. If you're painting out of, all your supplies are in your linen closet at your house or in, just kind of back behind your shoes in your closet or something like that, stretched canvases probably are not going to be the substrate for you. And you might be a painter and you might want to paint, but obviously you are not going to fit 10 stretched canvases into the same size that you could, or I mean, you can put 10 stretched canvases in there, but you might be able to put 30 panels in there. So that's giving you a lot more bang for your area that you've got to store things. So that's something that's really important. Panels require limited storage space. A lot of times too, they're cheaper per piece. When you're buying them, because it's not something where they've had to build the structure and then they've had to get the prime surface and then they've had to stretch it and then it requires much larger boxes, the shipping costs more and all that. It's already a cost savings besides a space savings. If you travel to paint, panels are way easier to travel with and paint on a larger format or even a smaller format and not have to lug a whole bunch of stuff around. Obviously, a stretched canvas is in a wind versus a panel can be a lot bigger of an umbrella that wants to take you Mary Poppins style across a field. So that's something to consider. They're lightweight. For artists like me, I'm Amy and I'm a rough painter. We all know that because we've all seen Amy's demos. Panels hold up better than stretched canvas to continued scrubbing, to banging. There's some people that like to just slap at it. A palette knife painter, I get a lot of people that ask how to repair canvases that are stretched. You're not going to go through a panel if you're doing palette knife painting. So people that are rougher or less careful, there you go. Or just, you know, you're not careful. You're always denting canvases. That's something where panels may be more up your alley. Ease of framing. Is something like this going to be cheaper to frame or something that is a 1.5 inch deep canvas? This can be put in anything from a really thin metal frame to something that's got nice size and depth and you would never know it's just a panel in it. Okay, that saves you money. If you're somebody that knows you're going to be exhibiting work, framing costs can get really huge if galleries require framing. So anywhere that you can save on kind of styles of frames, this will fit in anything. So if there's a frame sale, ta-da, look at this. It doesn't matter, it's going to fit in the channel, okay? So that's something to consider as well. Also, if you just really need the practice, and I know everybody would like to make, you know, finished art pieces all the time right off the get-go, and we tell people all the time, practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. Don't feel like you have to. It's not like you're giving birth to a child every single artwork you do. A whole stack of panels can get you a lot more practice than 4, you know, 3/4 inch canvases in that same size depth. Okay, so it's a lower price investment and you can get more volume in the same amount of space. Okay, so let's start with, we're going to start at the very bottom. We're going to start at just what the practiced stuff would be. And Katie, as we do this, I'll try to tell you in advance because I'm going to use the side panel for showing some like up close things and then some of just the overhead. The most basic thing you can go with is just kind of your board type of thing. The Soho Pan Boards come in 5 packs. They are perfect for practice. As long as you gesso them, you can use oils on these, you can use acrylics, you can draw on them. As long as you're not heavy with the watercolor washes, you can even use watercolor on them. But they're super, super inexpensive. It's a 2.3 millimeter board stock, and it's canvas texture paper. Now that being said, this is one of those buzzwords I want you to always pay attention to when you're looking at any product on anybody's website, okay? If something says board stock and it doesn't specify what board it is, I want you to always assume that it's probably cardboard or a heavy cardstock, okay? That is fine for practice. Nothing is wrong with that. A lot of times these can live a decent long life. Is this archival long term? Is this going to be around 200 years from now? No. But it's also not priced like it's going to be around 200 years from now, okay? So this is a fantastic board for that. I'm going to hold this to the side so it can come in. Let's see.
I don't know if it's gonna
come in. There we go. See how that's got a canvas texture to it? So it's giving you that texture. If you like a canvas texture, it can give you kind of that little bit of texture that's enjoyable to paint on. Wow, my nails are bad too. Sorry, guys. But this is the bottom of the barrel price, okay, for painting. And ironically enough, which I did not plan this, it just, I guess, me and good luck for once, there's a canvas and panel sale and Cradled Panels on through tomorrow night. So if there's any of these things you see, they're like rock bottom ridiculous prices. I don't know what they are right now. Amanda might be able to help with links to the pages, but they're like, it was just kismet kind of a timing. So Soho Urban Artist painting boards, those are great for just studies, for fun, for practice. If you got a kid in your life that wants to paint when you paint, these are their baby, okay? All right. Then going the next step up from there, the Creative Mark Artist Canvas Panels. These are kind of that next step from there. You actually have what's called a turned canvas. It doesn't mean that somebody's put it on something and they've spun it. Turned canvas means that they've got the board, they put the adhesive on, they put it down, and they fold the sides over. It makes that nice, clean, go to the side camera again, the nice clean edge where you can see that that's been folded over and glued down, and then they put like a backer paper over it so that it can't catch to pull up. It's nice and smooth. You've got an edge that you can just kind of paint the edge. Obviously, you're going to put a panel in a frame if you do something with it. But this is a cleaner product, where the other one is just that canvas paper right up to the edge of that cardboard board. So that's what they mean when they're saying, don't think that that's something where there's gnomes that are doing this, like when the panel maker goes to sleep, that are in there turning the panels over. It's not anything other than just a pretty dressy way of finishing it so that it looks very presentable front and back, okay? They usually have a paper on the back when they do this type of stuff that you can put your information and stuff on it, especially if you put stuff in shows that's in the back of your frame. This doesn't make it any better or worse. It's just how they clean it up and make it look pretty, okay? Now this is a real cotton canvas surface, okay, that's been glued on. It's got universal acrylic gesso priming. Universal priming means that this can take oil, it can take acrylic gouache, it can take inks, it can take all those different types of things. So universal means anything can go on it. When it's oil primed, that means what? That oil is going to go on it. Water soluble oils or traditional oils, but that's going to be what that's for. You're not going to want to put other media on that, because it's not going to probably adhere over time. All right. So, great price point for a panel like this. You can get them in these great bulk boxes of either 12, this is 12 right here, or 120. So these are, if you're looking at practicing making perfect, buy yourself a box of 120 and tell me how much better you're going to be by the end of that. Okay, now these do say that they are a board mount. So what does that mean? What did I say that meant? That means that's probably not, it's not like an MDF board. It's not a hard board underneath. This is great practice. It's not recommended as a long-term archival support, okay? Because those types of boards that are in it have acid and things like that that'll eventually kind of work their way through. So, but this is obviously prettier. Studies are prettier. You know, this is going to hold up more than just the paper coating is. Okay. And if we have any questions as we're going along, just shout it out.
We've had a couple.
Okay.
People are asking about warping.
Warping for boards. Okay, so we're going to talk about that as we go through this. Anytime it's just a board, especially if you've got an easel where you tend to like to really push it down and then you start getting that bend, right? Because otherwise it's going to slide in your easel. A board is not going to pop back over time. You'll get it so that it's got that bow in it. Now what you can do is, if you frame any type of panel in a metal frame with spring clips,
break it down.
the spring clips go in different spots, and help push it down all around the side. That's how, if you've got a panel that's bowed a little bit over time, or just, I mean, it happens to a lot of different things. Even, you know, ones that say they're absolutely warp free, give it to me. I can prove you wrong, probably, because I torque everything down on my easel. So, but spring clips are the kind of just the fail safe. It will fix any of this type of stuff that's bowed. Now, canvases are a different story. You're going to start to have real problems with that. So if you know you tend to torque things down, panels may be a better option for you because it's much more fixable when you're actually going to frame something. Okay, and we'll talk, as we progress into more professional surfaces, we're going to point out where something is going to be, like, under every normal painting position is going to be very prone to not warping. Okay?
Yeah, we have a lot of questions, but I think you're going to naturally answer them when we get to some of the higher end and just some of the more out there boards.
Keep it in your mind if you think of anything else, and I miss it, just let me know.
I do have one that was kind of going back to when you were just talking about galleries and stuff like that. Do they affect selling prices?
Panels themselves, they're not going to affect selling prices if you're using a professional grade panel. If you're using something like we just showed, that's more of just kind of a student grade, practice grade panel. That's fine for classes and stuff like that. That's not going to be fine if it's not archival. That's not going to be something that they may want in the gallery, or that you may want to be selling to people potentially for, you know, something to happen to it later on. It's your name that's associated with. So if you know you're in that position where you're wanting to show, exhibit, you're wanting to sell work, just go ahead and pay. Some of these ones that we're going to show have the MDF boards and stuff on it. It's not that much more, okay? They might not come in a 120 count box to practice, but you're still going to be able to get them in multiples for really crazy reasonable prices, and they'll be archival, okay? All right, so while we're on, I'm not sure why this wooden panels thing is here, but we're going to go over this because it's just kind of, I think I was just doing canvas panels and then wooden panels. We have a new product, and I'm just going to showcase it here because, especially since we just talked about that warp question. So these are the DaVinci dual-sided panels. Okay, dual means two, so we've got two, besides two panels that it comes with. These are super thick, super hardboard. This is a 1/4 inch thick panel. What is the normal thickness of most panels? Most normal hardboard panels like this are going to be a 1/4 inch thick only. This thing is, with pushing, I'm not getting anything out of it. And I can break a panel, can't I?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So what this gets you with the dual-sided is, one is super baby butt smooth. Like, you can hear that. That's so smooth, and it's oddly satisfying to do this as well. Then you get a rougher texture. It's not rough per se, but it's like a medium kind of a grit texture. It's got a little bit of tooth to it. This side, smooth. And I brought this because I just love how this turned out to be able to show both of these. And I'm going to turn it this way. So this is the smooth side with just a graphite pencil on one of these boards. That's how smooth that is. You can get that kind of detail just like you could a super smooth piece of cotton paper. Okay? Then the more textured side, oops, upside down.
Yeah, that's the one thing about that.
This is oil pastel on a panel. You can see a little bit of kind of the texture of the, you know, you could put multiple layers on this with the oil pastel. You can even see some of it standing up there. You have to have good texture on something that's hard like this for oil pastel to be able to build layers like that. Otherwise, it will slide off. So that's perfect for all sorts of different kind of the greasier stick mediums, acrylics, for anything that you want a little bit of texture to grab onto. You can do some really fun stuff with that. Also, if you've got a small space, you just put two pieces of artwork or practices on one panel. So you can pack in double the artwork in the same amount of space and in still way less space than one 3/4 inch stretched canvas, right? So those are really fun. And a really awesome value. And like I said, they're obviously pretty durable because I can't bend them.
Yeah.
I think the smaller ones are 3-packs. This is 11 by 14, I think is where that break is. But these are acid-free, super warp resistant, and they're incredibly stable. So great hardboard panel. Those. All right.
What medias could you use on those?
I mean, you could use oil. You could use anything. It's going to be like watercolor and stuff like that. That doesn't have that because the primer on it isn't absorbent enough to really take that type of fluid. But like acrylic inks are different and they will grab on.
Yeah, I've used alcohol inks on them before and they've worked.
Oh yeah, that would work. Especially the smooth side would work fantastic with alcohol inks because it's pretty sealed and it's almost a little bit shiny. Okay, so we're jumping back to canvas panels. Okay, so we've used these. The episode that we did where I painted the glassware, remember that? Where we filmed it ahead of time. I think it went last either October or November because we did it for me to be gone for the Great Day Nationals. Painted an entire painting that we did in slow motion, or not slow motion, sped up, felt like slow motion, with the Lucas 1862 oils. And we'd just gotten these panels in. These are the Soho Urban Artist canvas panels, and I wanted to give them a try. And for the price of a lower priced canvas panel that's still archival, these things are amazing. I actually really love them. I love the canvas, that's cotton canvas texture. They've got, I think it's 2 coats of acrylic primer. So if you're like one of those primer junkies that really likes it to be smoother, where it's like got that little waxier, it's a little dry. Personally, for acrylic, I prefer it because it grabs on really tight. Probably if you're doing oil, you want something to sit on top of it. But we did oil in it, and I found it to where it didn't sink, and it wasn't bad at all. I think we did a primed color on it, though. This has a proprietary core that's called C-Bond, and it's archival. It has a little bit of flex to it, but the key is instead of it going and staying, it can be flexed back into shape. Okay, so this is archival, acid-free panel and core. It's a 1/8 inch depth, so it's nice and thin. I'm going to show this so you can see the texture. I love the texture of this.
Put your finger up there too. Yeah. Oh, hold on.
Can they see it?
There we go.
See, and if you look at it really careful, most cotton, it looks way more machine grade than that. That almost reminds me a little bit of linen, Katie. Mm-hmm. And it has that feel more of linen. So you've got a little bit of some of the nice qualities of texture that linen will give you, but it's in a cotton. It's a little bit of kind of a rougher textured cotton. So that's, and when we look at one of the other panels that's very machine woven cotton, you'll be able to see the difference. These are really super inexpensive, and you can get, it's 3 packs, I believe, or boxes of 54. So if you're wanting to do a lot of practice, but you think some of these nice studies, especially if you paint in plein air and stuff like that, I might want to send to a gallery, I might want to sell, these are archival. These are going to be something that you can do that with without worrying what's going to happen to that painting in 5 years, 10 years, okay? So, those are the Soho Urban Artists cotton panels. So, they're Amy approved. I really do like them. I have the painting at home. I kind of jealously guard it because I enjoyed it so much. So, all right, yes, canvas panels. Okay, So these come in packs of 3 or boxes of 54. And something happened and we didn't get the order size, but it's fine because we had one here. So this is a 16 by 20. Now, what kind of the cool thing about this particular type of panel? It's like, okay, so yes, it's just another turned canvas panel. This has a proprietary gesso on it. I had to think of the word. The priming. That is designed to be super absorbent. So you can actually take these, and although it's going to be a little bit different than cotton or paper is going to be with watercolor, you can actually use these for watercolor and for watercolor gouache and for thinned inks, for airbrushing, for anything that's a super liquidy, more wet medium than what you're going to be doing with acrylics. If you're going to work with, I think we did use it actually when we did the alcohol inks episode to show that it would kind of turn matte because it was super absorbent, but how absorbent it was and how well it dried. But this is designed for the watercolorist or wet media painter that usually works on flat paper surfaces and things like that. That gives you the option where you can frame it without glass, where you can put fixative over it, and make it kind of a little fresher and a little bit more modern. And it's called Yes because what? It accepts every media. It's a yes. So I'm sure they've probably seen some of Katie's creative social media marketing. That was actually a lot of, we're just like, let's just try everything on this.
Everything.
And it worked. So it's an 11-ounce weighted cotton canvas that's put on there. Plate smooth. So what plate is it's smooth, but it's got just enough grab. A 3mm composite board core allows multiple layers to be worked up, and it's triple primed. So it's got a little bit better absorbency for something liquid for those types of mediums. So that gives you some options if you're somebody who is a watercolor painter who's just kind of always been curious and seen a couple people paint on cotton canvases. They also make this in cotton canvas rolls and stretched canvas, so that gives you even more options. But you know, this is kind of nice because you could actually use it like a block or something like that with a panel and not have to worry about tearing stuff off when you're done, you know. All right, put that over there. Now, the ProTones all media cotton canvas panels. These come in packs of 3 or boxes of 12. This isn't another one of those, it's just another cotton canvas panel. It's actually not. These are really well thought of all media painting panels that are toned. If you're a plein air painter, this is something that none of us for some reason ever think about. Some people do put a ground on before they go out, but it's not until you're out there and it's like brilliantly sunny and you've forgotten your umbrella that you've got that white surface reflecting back in your eyes and half blinding you when you're working. ProTones took 4 different surfaces, 4 different colors, and made a custom ground already on there that is matte. So what does that mean? A, it's not going to be reflecting the light back into your eyes like a white acrylic surface. B, it's matte, so there's no shine to it. Natural tones. We've got seafoam. We have Sahara, which is my favorite. I just love that kind of a clay. It'd be really good for plein air painting in North Carolina because everything is clay. This is Dune. And Studio Gray. Okay, and I'm going to hold this up. Let me get the, I love this. Let's show the, this is
asking too if they could see the Yes close up. So if you want to pull that one.
Okay, yes, I will in just a second. Okay, so there's the Dune. Look at how nice that's what's called more of a kind of mechanical cotton, very obvious cotton weave, but it's very nice. But that color, see how it's not reflective even in the lights here. We've got some super bright studio lights, so that is not reflective at all. So that's going to help save your eyes. Now, these are 100% cotton. They're triple primed, acid-free priming, MDF boards. It's turned canvas, which should be kind of a that should be what it is. But MDF is like, if you are familiar with masonite, that's what MDF is. It's just got a resin impregnated in it so that it's not absorbing moisture. So that gives you something that's more durable long term. It's archival, perfect for plein air painting, or just if you like to use grounds. It kind of already has gone past that roadblock of where do I start. There's already a color on it. And you know, the gray is the one color that I was like, okay, I can see the other ones, but that, you can see the gray through here. This isn't done, but it was just to test some acrylics. The gray is all back in here and kind of through this line. That just made that painting come together like an hour sooner than it normally would have, because I was already painting on that surface, and it kind of helped give that kind of non-reflective value right back to it. So they're really great, like little, it's an idea that I thought, no, these are actually really, really nice. So those are ProTones, and you said they wanted to see the yes texture, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just let me know when it's
good.
Okay, so that's got a little bit of bump, which helps kind of grab on, but for the most part, it's super smooth and it's very absorbent. When I feel it, if you've ever touched a lot of acrylic primers, you're gonna know what I mean by saying that it's not powdery, but you can tell it's absorbent. It like feels like it's pulling the oil out of my pores. Now, something to keep in mind with the Yes, and this is just from personal experience, and I'm going to give this little kind of jewel of advice for people that might want to use this. Always take it and wipe it down with isopropyl alcohol first and let it dry, because just unpackaging it, you never realize how much of this, or you get it and you're like, wow, I really like, you don't know how much oil comes and goes into this stuff. And so many people buy these and just touch them around a little bit, not realizing that it's like the little kids in the germs video. And then when you go to put that water media on, you know where it's not going to sink in is anywhere that you touched it with your hot little hands, okay? And even sometimes with all canvases, stretched or panels otherwise, sometimes you'll see that little bit of shine on the edge when you take a panel off from where they've heat sealed the plastic. That's where the plastic, while it's warm, is rubbed off just a little. The isopropyl alcohol or denatured alcohol will take that right off too. So it's not the worst idea when you unwrap something that's got a canvas prime surface. Go ahead and wipe it down. Just saves you some frustration factor. Oh yeah, if it's been sitting in your studio a long time, definitely do that. All right, another fantastic, we're talking about the ProTones, another fantastic wood-backed panel that can work for plein air. These are called the Talati Pinelli canvas panels. Now, these are made in Italy. This is a cotton canvas. It's adhered with an acid-free glue. This is non-directional composite board. What on earth does that mean? Well, it's actually a good thing. It sounds like it's just very much mayhem and mischief. Non-directional means that if this would absorb a bunch of water or something, or moisture, or you have a really super humid studio, being non-directional means that it's not going to have wood grain that is going to swell and pull and push against each other. You're going to have minimal shift, if anything, in just that expansion and contraction. So anytime something says non-directional, that's what that means. It sounds weird, but it's actually a very good thing. Universal acrylic priming on these. The texture is what I love. I've never seen such a kind of mechanized texture. It's just
beautiful.
To paint, it's funny because I really like linen a lot. I really love this surface too. And I love how durable these boards are. I mean, they're a good durable board. They're great for plein air painting too. I've taken a lot of these plein air painting. I've got a little 6x8 box that I've always bought this brand to put in it, because it's just a little wider, a little more durable. I drop a lot of things, so this tends to hold up for that. So and those come in 4-packs, so that gives you kind of a really nice wood style panel, but that's got a canvas, a real canvas texture for kind of that more of the stretched canvas painter in you, but the durability and the small size portability of a panel for travel. All right, so there's that. And you can see as we're going along, there's all sorts of different types. There's lots of different components to consider. There's lots of different price points to consider. So just we're trying to give you the best kind of information possible on that. Now, so we've shown a couple plein air things. Now, if you're the professional painter, or you really are trying to up your plein air painting game, these little babies are going to do it. And I didn't want to take one out first because I didn't want to get them dirty, because I love these so much that I'm really like very, oh, but let's keep them very safe. All right. So there's 2 oil primed surfaces for the oil paint. I mean, you use these in your studio, I guess, too, but these are particularly designed for plein air painting because this is 10 panels and weighs less than 2 pounds. 10 surfaces and weighs less than 2 pounds. Did I mention that in these 10 surfaces that weigh less than 2 pounds, there's actually your oil prime side. Then there is this side that is a multimedia drawing board that you could do acrylic on. You could do ink drawing on. You could do graphite. You could do colored pencil. You can do an oil painting on one side, and you can do a study on the other side. So like you could take this, do your sketch to make sure you like your composition. You don't have to bring sketchbook paper anymore. And you flip it over and you've got your oil painting side right here. So you're getting 20 surfaces in 10 little panels. Now these are flexible because they're small, but they pop right back. Okay, they're a very durable little multimedia board, and you can feel when you bend it that although it's flexible, it's very durable. So these are called the plein air butterfly lightweight panels. Okay, so they're 1 32 inches thick with oil primed Pissarro linen, and we got to show what that looks like. Now, I know that this looks cream right now, and this is another thing. If you've never painted on an oil primed surface and you're an oil painter, when oils are in the dark, so these are packaged and they're in a warehouse until somebody orders them and they come to you, this is what your oil primed surface is going to look like because it's been out of the light. White on a painting will, if you put it out in indirect sunlight for a few days, go back to white. Okay, so and if not, you're going to paint over it anyway if you're, you know, not worried about it and you paint your whole painting. But this isn't something that's got anything wrong with it. This is just what oil primed surfaces do when they've been stored in the dark. Okay, so not to worry. The customer service agent in me is saying this is just letting you know. People always ask, there's nothing wrong with this. Okay, so imagine if you were traveling abroad. You could take 10 surfaces that little, right? This could fit in a suitcase. This could fit in a purse. If you get one of those little tiny oil painting things that looks like a little notebook, and these, you'd be good to go. So now, if you're not as worried about, you know, you want to be lightweight, you like that surface, but you don't need them to be, you know, smaller than a fly's wing, thickness-wise, they make these in a 2-pack of a super durable plein air board. Okay, it does not have, excuse me, does not have that second surface on the back. But like, if you know you're going to be like, this is going to go in your backpack, and you're carrying all your gear in your backpack, this is going to be your durable painting substrate of choice versus something smaller like that in case it gets kind of pushed around and pushed on. So you can get that same linen of the Passaro in a little bit thicker 1/8 inch deep painting panel that's still very lightweight. It's called Sintra. It's a very specific archival style of kind of sealed foam core. So that's kind of the heavy duty version of that, if you will.
But still really light.
Still super lightweight. I mean, I don't even know. That's
another thing to think about too if you're traveling with those weight limits on things.
Yes. Or if you're having to pay for a bag, weight wise, yes. This is the way to pare it down. Okay. All right. So we've done the lightweight. Now we're going to go back to the canvas panels. Now we're moving into linen. We've looked at the cotton canvas. Linen is where you start getting some increase in price, but these are still very much in the low ballpark of the professional range that we're going to discuss now. Kind of one of the neatest, and the lady's not here that has it in her office. Senso makes an all media linen painting panel with a clear acrylic primer. This is beautiful, and I'm going to show it right now under it just so people can. This is linen, what linen looks like under your primer, okay? This actually has, I don't know if they can hear that. It's the tack as you pull across a primer, a clear acrylic primer, so that you've got the linen protected, even if you're going to paint oils over this, but it's ready. Oh,
you should see the sheen of it because it doesn't. There you go.
Yes, see that little bit of shine? That's the clear acrylic primer. Okay, so it's an 11-ounce archival linen, which if you know anything about linen, 11 ounces is pretty durable. It's actually a pretty heavy duty linen. It's triple primed. 3mm archival MDF hardboard core. So you've got a core that's also archival. Works with almost every media. These will actually work with, I've done artwork with these with Conte crayons on it. Like oil crayons in the natural tones. I've done some like human figure studies. She, in her office, the one I was hoping to get with a micron, I did an elephant on it. So you can see the linen through it. It looks really cool. Acrylics, oils, acrylic gouache. I mean, any of those types of things that aren't a water media like watercolor are going to be able to work on this style priming that this has. So it gives you kind of the lower end professional ability to get yourself in on what linen feels like and paints for way less than a stretched linen is going to be. Panels with linen are always less expensive than stretched linen. Okay? All right. So that's called Senso. Now, there's taking kind of the wooden painting panel with the oil primed linen canvas to an entirely another level. And this is the Raphael oil primed linen panel. This is a 3/8 inch thickness. So it's plywood. It's actually very fine grained. I'm going to show this. So if anybody knows anything about woodworking, see how nice and flat that grain is. There's not a lot of grain to it. What they do with these, and then this is the surface for this beautiful oil priming.
So pretty.
And again, this is creamier than it would be once you've got it out and it has a little bit of sunlight. I love the smell of Raphael. And Raphael is one of the smoothest oil primed linens. It's just so delightful. And oil paint sits on top of it. You can get an oil paint to a finish so much quicker because it's not sinking in. You're not having that problem with trying to kind of keep building the shine back up. This is actually plywood. There's 5 layers. But what they do with this is to make this durable and so that you don't get splitting, they do grain, 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 grain. So what that does is any moisture, any humidity, you've got two alternate surfaces laminated each way, you know.
They Jenga stack it.
They do Jenga stack it so that it's not going to go anywhere. So it's not going to alter any of your painting. It's not going to make your linen pick up and pull on the edges. This is the way they did painting panels for centuries. Yeah. So, and then, but then it's not just the panel. You've got the ability of this, just this beautiful, lovely linen on top of it. And, oh, it's handmade in Italy, which you can smell. You can smell the accent. So that is what, if you were saying, I need a professional panel for a commission, for something big, for this gallery wants me, or museum wants me to have a show, this is what you're going to want to work on if you're wanting to go with panels, with oils, okay? All right. So, then we've got the Centurion panels. Centurion is a linen that gives you two different options, okay? Depending on if you paint in oil and acrylic, I'm gonna recommend one thing if you're forgetful like me, either, which luckily these have it on the back. They didn't always used to have a logo that was very obviously one or the other. These are very obviously one or the other now, so, which is fantastic. Universal priming means that it's acrylic. Okay, it's the same linen either way. It's an 11-ounce linen. It's got a great medium weave texture. We'll show you one and then the other in just a minute. 3mm MDF wood hardboard. So it's got a tiny bit of flex to it, but it's only because it's so thin, it can be manipulated right back into place. Acid-free, non-warping. The oil priming is, I think this is triple primed. I know the oil priming is triple primed as well. I'm going to put both of them up together and we'll see if maybe we can show. Okay, so we've got oil here and then we've got acrylic here. I'm going to see if we can take that and, so see how the acrylic fills a little bit differently because that oil is just that little bit thinner. So oil, acrylic. And you can feel this is a little bit more absorbent where that's just going to sit very much on top. So if you know you're going to do oils pretty much exclusively, the oil primed one would be the way to go. If you do a lot of both and you don't want to have to, oh, I thought I had an oil panel and I only have the, you know, universal panels or vice versa, it might just be, this for an acrylic priming is not super thirsty. Paints do sit on top of it pretty well. Not quite as well as the oil priming, but close. So just food for thought. Because I've been the one who at 2 in the morning was working on something and realized I only had the oil primed. Because that's me. All right. Now, cradled panels. Cradled panels are something that's kind of really come up, what, Katie, the last maybe 10 or 15 years, it seems like.
Yeah, in popularity. They kind of...
Yes. Well, I think being able to do floater frames with canvases is where people were like, but hey, I like a hard surface, but I like that floater frame. I don't always want to frame my stuff. In came the cradled panels. So with a cradled panel, what you've got...
I think technologies have been able to create these more sturdy, longer lasting panels and stuff as well.
Yes, no, I agree.
Big difference.
I agree. So a cradle is going to give you these... I want to come over here because that's easier. It's going to give you different size depths. Okay. It's going to give you... kind of see how you've got that lip inside, and people can even take these and use them as shadow boxes too. I've seen that done. It's going to have that laminated onto, we're going to move back a little bit, laminated onto, there we go. You can see that laminated right onto the top. And then you've got multiple thicknesses. Like this is the one we'll talk about first. This is the DaVinci smooth cradled panel, the smooth gesso. you've got your smaller 3/4 inch thickness, and then they have it in a 2-inch thickness as well. So if you want something super big, we did an episode, and let me see what episode it was. Did I write it down? No, I forgot to write it down. Okay. So in that list of all the shows that we've done, we did an episode on sealing substrates, on priming substrates. And in that episode, we showed how you can finish the sides of a cradled panel, and you can even do like acrylic or oil stains or paint them, what you need to do to seal them, to paint them. So you want to look for that episode, and I can post that in the Jerry's live group tomorrow by noon. I'll post it in there so that if you can't find it, I'll put it there. But what you can do with those is seal that, make it look real pretty. All you have to do is do your wiring on the back and hang it on the wall, because this is essentially a gallery wrap if you finish it nicely. That doesn't mean just slap some black paint on it and be done, because wood will sometimes show the grain depending on what type of paint you have it on. So you'll want to kind of look at what we did and kind of how we explained to do that. If you live in a really humid environment too, you're going to want to seal the back of your panels and the sides of your panels as well, even if you know you're going to frame them, just because all wood absorbs moisture, and this is wood. Doesn't have that canvas turn around it to kind of seal out the elements. So we talk about that in that episode as well, kind of how to do that, and we show how to do that. So these are all the DaVinci Pro panels that we're looking at. This is the one that is the super duper ultra smooth. It's like a soft little baby hiney. This is, I don't know if it's even going to pick up. See how it looks like there's no texture? It just shows how horrible my nails are. It's just ridiculously smooth. Now, we just looked at that DaVinci Pro panel with the drawing there. That is that same ultra smooth surface on that panel, okay? That's how smooth and how much detail you can pick up with something like that. So you can actually do pencil drawings on the ultra smooth. You can do pen and ink. You can do, this would be perfect for if you do trompe l'oeil, where you want to make something where there's no brush strokes and look hyper realistic. This would be the surface for that if you want to use a cradled panel. So that's option one for a texture. Then they do the mediums, and the mediums they do in, we've got a 2-inch, it's a 7/8 inch and a 1 5/8 inch. It's hard to tell without reading glasses when you can't hold it back far enough. So I don't have the thinner one here right now. They were out of that, but this, oh no, you know what? There's one in this little trial pack. So this is what you've got thickness difference wise. Okay. So you can kind of see some differences. The medium texture, all right, fingers, where's my finger? There we go. Oh, focus. There we go. See how you can see those little bumps? A little bit of bumps. It's got a little bit of a grittier texture. This is that texture that's on that 2-sided panel that we talked about. That oil pastel worked fantastic on. Acrylic grabs really well to this. If you wanted to work with encaustics would bond decently well to this. This has kind of just a little bit better texture for something where we're starting a painting that's going to be heavier, that's going to have heavier layers. Maybe you're going to be doing some impasto. Isn't going to potentially peel off from the weight like it could on that smoother surface. That's got the texture that's going to grab right on. So you've got that. And those are all acid-free and archival. And then this one, we have done pastel work even on. This is called Resist Grip. It is a coarse textured gesso that they put a little bit of silica in. We've got the 3/4 inch, and then I think it's a 2-inch. So you've got those two options. And then let's take a look at what this Resist Grip looks like.
Real texture.
It's like sanded pastel paper. It's just not a uniform, as uniform as like a sanded pastel paper, but
It feels like that.
Yeah. You can do pastels on that. You can, I mean, oil pastels will even work on that, but soft pastels, anything where you would want some nice, you know, some grit and grab, it works really fantastic for charcoals. Can you imagine a charcoal drawing on this?
Just don't grab with your fingers.
No. Yeah, you don't want to do that. No. If they've done it with sanded paper, they probably already know not to do that. Now, the beautiful thing about these is they actually researched it and used some wood that's decent for this. The New Zealand pine has strong grain. It doesn't have knots. It's virtually warp free, so you're not going to have problems with these panels. They're designed very nice and cleanly to bond well together, to not, you know, pop and come off. They're very, very stiff and very durable. So a lot of thought was put into the design of these boards. Now, so yay, you like this and all that, but you want the real deal. You want the real birch wood. Maybe you're going to be doing something like where you want to mount papers and things like that. We did this on an episode. This is on the birch. Drilled through it and put a knob on there. So with this, you could actually, where you add some things on, besides just mounting surfaces.
Very good point. A lot of people have been asking what the best one for collage would be.
For collage.
It depends on what kind of collage you're doing.
Yes, it does depend on what kind of collage you're doing. And anywhere where you're going to be putting findings on that are of any weight that you may want to either staple through or put small holes and secure it through with wire, you're going to want to go with the birch, because this is actually a plywood surface to it. There's the 7/8 inch and then the 1 7/8 inch. I'm guessing 1 5/8 inch. So this is what that looks like, that veneer to the side. Nice, smooth grain. It's been super sanded. It's not going to be picky or anything like that at all. You are going to want to seal it before you apply different things to it. That substrate episode that we talked about tells you how to do that, but it's the birch on the back as well. So it's a plywood, so you can actually drill through that really easily without it cracking and snapping or breaking. So this gives you a lot of, if you're really into more 3D art, but you're using a panel as a backing, these birch panels can do a lot of exciting kind of construction style things. Now, do you not know, you like the idea of these panels, but you don't know what would be best for some of your applications. There is a little bit of crossover. There's a tiny little set of the baby 4x6s that's ridiculously cheap. I don't know if it might even be a try me price, where you can try all of the different.
$6.39.
So $6.39. You can have 4 little paintings, try 4 different surfaces, the birch and each of the textured surfaces. So that gives you an idea of kind of what panel is going to work and what primer is going to work best for me. Okay, so let's move on to, okay, so kind of odd ones. And we used this on a gouache episode once. Crystal clear painting tiles. None of these get super big, just for durability. But you can paint, especially if you like acrylic gouache or acrylic on these. There is the plastic on each side that you need to pull off before you use it. Just keep it on until you work. You'll want to pull that back. I think you can see it. Yeah. Yeah, you'll want to pull the... Here we go. Let's see if that does it. Come on.
It's too clear.
It is too clear. Okay. Well, you're going to pull the plastic back. Anyway. We made some really cool things by doing 5 pieces and stacking it. Come on, you gotta focus on the bug. It's a bug.
Pull it back just tight. Oh wait, maybe.
There. Takes a minute. Let's see if it will with my finger there. I think it likes the panels too much.
Go more in the center.
The grain of the panels.
The center of this.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, so you can see that this is done in 5 layers. So you've got kind of the legs at the bottom and different parts at the top. I think this one might be a little easier to see because of the way that the, all right, we're gonna do, I need to put something behind it so that it's not, see how we got that with all of those different layers? That's just with that same little painting tile and layering different layers to make it look 3D. So it's something that's fun that you can paint on one side, not the other. You can paint on both. The acrylic, or I mean, alcohol inks work great on that. So that's an idea. So just for something that's kind of different, still archival, it's just very modern and unique and kind of not what you think about when you think about a painting panel. And then there's liquid panels. We've talked about those on shows before. You can use, it's got multiple depths, 3/4 inch and 1.5 inch. So you've got 2 depths. It's got a lip. The inside here is gessoed. But see how it's got that little 1/8 inch lip? So you can actually pour into it, do pouring paintings into it. You know, you can work with all sorts of different fluid media and you're not going to put in too much or it's not going to slop out. It's got a deeper side in the back and it's sealed. See how it's sealed there? So you're not going to have it come pouring through onto your work table underneath. But we've used those for all sorts of stuff. In fact, for our first episode, they've just come out with these. And this is done in a pouring panel. So this is actually just...
That's our first episode.
It was Turner acrylic gouache with pouring medium. And we created this on the very first episode. So you can see how that actually, that lip has kept that from going out. And we made all sorts of cool, fun designs. These are wildly popular. Right now you can either clear coat the edge. This is actually, I never finished yet. I mean, this could be sanded and clear coated or stained or just left raw. You can wax it. You can even paint it. Just kind of whatever you might like to do to finish it out. Now, one last type of panel. And then a couple cool custom things that only Jerry's does that are really fun. Alumicomp. Alumicomp is a aluminum panel, highly archival. There is a smooth surface on one side. This is, can't see without the reading glasses. Smooth surface on one side. There's like kind of like a blow molded style polyethylene. It reminds me of my old days with whitewater kayaking. As soon as I saw that plastic, I was like, I know what that's made out of. That's kept me from dying in a river before.
Talk about archival.
I know, right? It was Amy archival. Then this one has a textured surface. So you've got 2 different art surfaces, shiny, textured. People are like, what the heck do I do with that? You can gesso over it and do whatever you want over it. The beauty of this is, especially say you live in swampy Florida, this does not have wood. It's not a porous material. This isn't going to expand and contract if you've got a studio and it's 102 degrees out and for some reason you were just a wild person and you don't have it climate controlled. Nothing is going to happen to this. It's not going to give you problems with that. The same if you live in an arid environment where you might have rain, a deluge of rain one day in New Mexico and then the next day it's as dry as can be. Nothing is going to happen with this. Super archival. This isn't going to it's hurting my shoulder to even try. This isn't going to flex and warp. You can actually take these and just do, I mean, you can do oil straight on it and leave mirror shiny imagery if you want. I've done a couple of these with antique cars and gone back to the kind of rubbed back either with a tool or with a little bit of Brillo back to the shine in the places that I wanted some like soft shine. So it gives you really kind of cool options in a super archival panel. But again, you could just prime it and paint over it like a regular painting. No one would ever know that it's an aluminum panel under there. Super lightweight for a metal panel.
Super lightweight.
Super duper lightweight. No molding, mildewing, anything like that, like you're going to get with cotton, definitely, if you don't have climate control. Or just, you know, stretcher bars that go in and out. So it's like the artist's perfect painting surface. Yeah. I hate to say it, and I love them, and I don't even, would never tell anyone else in my household how many Illumicomps I've got hidden in different places to work on that I've bought. So
even when it comes to like shipping, when you have to ship a finished piece or something like that.
Oh yes, and they make these big too for panels, because they're so durable and they're not going to flex and warp. So you can get these super large sizes.
They come from a construction inspiration, so you know they're durable.
All right, so then if you like the idea of that, but you don't want to have to gesso it yourself, they make a beautiful neutral gray that we do in-house that you can buy in custom sizes, and you don't have to gesso it yourself. There is an amazing rose earth that's just this beautiful neutral. I'm taking this one out. I keep them in here because I'm so worried about, you know me, and getting things dirty and fingerprints on them. But this is just, and look at how that's not, there's no shine to it. So if you wanted to use that for outside painting, obviously you would want to keep the back on and not be shiny with that. But this will give you that kind of beautiful neutral. And then they do white in a double primed and a quadruple primed. So the double primed has more texture, it's rougher, so you could use even like stick media on it. The quadruple priming is super duper smooth because it's multiple coats of soft kind of priming. So, but then, just wait, there's more. So if that wasn't enough that they do those gessoed, we've got, and okay, so these are called New York Central because these are a custom product, and that's our custom product line, is when we're taking our brand substrates and we're adding onto them and doing a custom thing. It's called New York Central. So all these with the gesso are called New York Central. This is a Lumicomp, but it's got Clausen's oil primed linen mounted on it. It's the 166. And Katie's been closed up, so it really smells like Clausen's. That's the best smell in the world. Forget puppy breath. It's a new oil prime canvas in the morning for me, Katie. Then, not to be outdone by the Illumicomp, the DaVinci Birch wood painting panels, they make a New York Central surface with literally every type of watercolor paper, with the Canson, with the Arches, with the Fabriano, correct, in all of the presses. Then they make them in all sorts of different priming. This is that with a Raphael oil prime surface, which is one of the ones that we looked at earlier, with that other wood one. So this gives you a cradled surface with an oil primed surface on it. So, and if you've ever seen any of the episodes where we had the grumpy owl and he sat up there for the longest time, he was on one of those surfaces with, I think, a hot press, or no, rough press from Fabriano. So you can get little custom things as tiny as this to great big with the Illumicomp and stuff that are under that New York Central brand. So if it's something where you've always wanted to try something neat, this is the way to try. Like if you want to buy a roll of linen but you don't know what's right for you and you don't want to invest in it, these are actually super duper cost effective. Buy a bunch of little ones that they do of these, of the different ones that you want to try. You've got enough to do a little mini painting on. You know what that feel is of it before you invest in a $2,000 roll of linen. Way cheaper to do it that way, to try it out first. So this looks like a storm has rolled through here because I'm just kind of piled things as we've gone, but hopefully this has given you a little bit better insight into what panels are, what construction is, what makes something archival, what some of those kind of buzzword terms, definitions are, and what types of things that can kind of help you achieve a specific look or specific desire for a flat, hard painting surface. Did we have any last questions? Do you think we kind of covered enough of the... I can go back and answer questions.
There's definitely some that you'll have to go back and answer because there's some very specific ones.
That's fine.
But let's see. We did have some...
Plus, I know Amanda knows. Amanda and Frida know. They're on the stick.
Somebody did ask what the difference between aquaboard and clayboard is when you're doing like specifically
that's a good question.
Like watercolor ground.
Okay, so like aquaboard and clayboard are a brand. Those are ampersand. Aquaboard is actually a water medium primed surface. So it's going to be kind of like the Yes, where the Yes is canvas instead. Instead, that's like a clay and gesso base that's super smooth that will absorb some water. And I'm going to tell you some water because I had one and I decided to do a watercolor commission with it. And I had to dry brush most of it on. It was not as absorbent as everything that I had read said that it would be. So just from my personal experience, it is water, you know, it will absorb water, but up to a point. You can't put washes on and then lift and put more washes and more washes. It's not designed to do that. It's designed to be a panel that gives you some ability to use water media on it, okay? Clayboard is actually like our super ultra smooth surface. It's made with some clay in it. So it's just that super fine, super kind of a whitish gray. It's great for a lot of technical drawing. I can't remember the artist's name here in Raleigh that uses the clayboard that does all those super technical graphite drawings, but it gets, like, if you are using technical pens, if you are using graphite pencils, if you're using anything where you need a super fine point, if you want to do any trompe l'oeil on it, that surface is designed for that type of thing. And I know people will put down ink colors and then put ink over it and use it also as a scratch board too. That's one of the things that people like that surface for a lot. But that's what the difference is between those two. So you need to know that before you buy one specifically and then find out it is not the one that you thought that it was going to be. Is that the only question you thought?
I'm looking. For the DaVinci dual panels, the dual-sided panels, will you need to roughen the smooth side to prevent acrylics from peeling?
I would use the medium side for that because it's so smooth. I don't know. You might have to take it down quite a bit for that smooth side. They're asking about the dual panels that I did the little thing on about the smooth side and acrylics. Now, if you were going to, I think I would just use the medium side. It's just got more. It's got more tooth. Why worry with the thing? If you're wanting to use it and do something cool, like maybe you do a dual-sided painting and then frame it with just the edge and somehow display it showing both sides, then yes. And what I think I would do with it instead of sanding it with sandpaper is I would get some steel wool. And when you roughen something to get good tooth, you don't want it to be directional per se. Circles of steel wool and do that. I actually, the first time I used a Lumicomp, I was testing it before we picked it up, and they did not have a smooth side, and I wanted to see what was under. Kind of, they put a scree of just like an acrylic primer or something kind of over it because they didn't even think about the idea of maybe it being dual-sided. And that's how I got it to be kind of smooth but have enough texture to test with acrylic paint. So it won't take as much off, but it will leave enough texture so that things can grab onto it.
And then one more, and I think there's a couple of you have to go back and answer
That's fine.
Individually, but we had a couple of people ask about cleaning them with the alcohol, if there's a specific way you need to do it, if there's a specific like cloth you need to use. Okay,
good question. I would use a lint-free rag of some sort, whether it's an old t-shirt that's white. Don't ever use a colored one because God only knows what might happen if there's some leftover dye or something in it.
Putting a red sock in the white laundry.
Right, well, just because you don't know, especially if you use denatured alcohol, it's a little harder core. So always something that's lint-free. Even the new lint-free rags that you can buy literally anywhere, those are good for it. Even like if you can get the bigger cotton pads, but it needs to be cotton, not like where it's just kind of that fluffy stuff that's like cotton. But really t-shirts I think work the best because you can kind of ball it up and it's a little more kind of wet and absorbent. Anything else? Okay. All right, well, I will go back through those within the next day or two and answer any kind of leftover rogue questions that we find in there. And again, if you left a question and you're looking for something very specific, you may want to try that JL7 episode that we did because we cut panels apart so you could see what was in the inside of them with a couple of them. So that may give you a little bit more feedback. And we went over, I think, some...
We did that.
Huh?
I forgot we did that.
Yes. Yes. We actually cut through a painting because I had a painting that I really loved and that I found out I'd done on something that was not archival. So to prove a point, I cut my own painting apart.
Ian actually brought up something real quickly that I don't know if we've mentioned it, but the difference in storing these and trying to store canvas or anything else like that, or paper, like how much easier it is to store them. You can store them standing up, you can store them.
Yes, that's we talked about it at the beginning about with some of those with the set of 12, how much that would be like 4 canvases and you could store 12 paintings. So yeah, definitely the thing to do. And always, like, if you've got tall long ones, don't store them tall long ways, especially if you don't have a lot of them and you're not keeping them straight against each other like that, because that can have a higher propensity for them to slowly start to bow slightly, which can be fixed, like we said, with a frame that's got those spring clips in the back. But why do that if you don't need to, right? So kind of always store them the thinner, the narrower side of the two like that, and always have them straight up and down, not sagging like that. Okay, even with stretch canvas, it needs to be straight up and down. So. All right, well, I will go back through and check all that stuff. Next week, with JL 156, we have talked about, people have questions, it doesn't matter how many episodes we do on water mixable oils. So we are doing another water mixable oils episode where you can actually learn about the medium through a Q&A while I'm doing a demo. So the girls can be firing off questions while I'm actually working. And if it's something that we can apply there, we can talk about as I'm actually working on just a small study. So that will be next week. Come prepared with all your questions on water mixable oils. So everybody stay safe, take care of each other, get plenty of rest, and we'll see you next week.